Welcome back to Reporting for Duty. I'm your host, A Train, and joining me is my co-host, Janell West Coast. What's up, Janell?
Hello.
Man, we got a cool show today, huh?
Heck yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, we've got a guest with us today. He is an author, and he also plays the piano, which we'll probably get into a little bit. But let me introduce Shane Chastain. What's up, Shane?
Oh, not too much. How's everybody doing?
We're doing good. It's
Good.
raining here for once.
It's raining tomorrow. I think the Mississippi rivers run dry, and the preacher man says it's the end of time.
I know. I thought we lived in Arizona. I mean, we haven't had rain in months. It's crazy. There's cracks in the backyard and front yard like an inch and a half wide.
Yeah, it's crunchy everywhere.
Yeah, wild. And then I looked out the front window, and our neighbor, who is a little loony toony, was out there raking all his leaves in the pouring rain. And then he piled them all out in the street.
You know, sometimes you just have to get out of the house.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like I have to get out, or I'm going to kill her and the dog and the kids too.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
gonna go
totally.
rake the leaves in the rain
I actually have
for
more to
for
say.
everyone's safety.
Right. No, that's totally true. I have more to say about him, but we won't do it on the podcast.
Well, speaking of Looney Tune neighbors, I will talk about mine.
Oh yeah, I wanted to hear this. Let's hear the
Okay,
story.
you guys. So I have to preface this with I live in a nice neighborhood. Nobody really talks to each other. There are mostly older people that live around me, but right next to me, right next to my driveway, there's this smaller house, and I really don't even know the dynamic of who lives there. We have never spoken in 3 years. And about a week ago, I had started noticing that the guy was like coming out of the house, like every time I would pull up or if I would come out of my front door, and he was just acting a little bit funny. And I don't want to just assume that he's on meth, but very meth like uh body movements and things
He's
like
so meth.
that, and
He's so methy.
like this.
Yeah.
So my son and I had made comments. He's like, "Mom, he just looks not good." And I'm like, "I know, but we've never spoken." So I pulled up in my driveway about a week ago. I'm sitting in my car on the phone with my son, and I'm like, I like hold up my phone so he can't read my lips. I'm like, I gotta go. Like, this guy's sitting on his porch just staring at me. I gotta get in the house. It feels really weird. Get out of the car. He finally says hi to me for the first time in 3 years. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. Go about my evening. Knock on the door later. And Ariana and JJ were here with me, right? So they're like, somebody's at the door, somebody's at the door. I'm like, okay, open the door, and it's him. And his very meth-like
Oh
body
God.
movements on my front porch. So I step outside, and I took some notes afterwards because I knew I was going to remember like all the great details.
She's
So
got notes.
I did. I was like, nobody's ever going to believe this happened. Um,
First
so
question, does he have all his teeth?
he does. He has great teeth.
Okay.
He's in the beginning years of it.
He's a new one. Yeah.
So he is like very animated on my porch, explaining to me like he's not a bad person. He had been in some trouble 10 years ago. He currently lives with his fiance, but she's not there right now because they may or may not have had like a domestic thing.
Oh
And
God.
and he, and
And
here comes the I need 20 for gas.
oh no, it's way better than that. It's way better than that. And so I'm just listening, and I mean he's just talking for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, I know this isn't going to end well, but where is this going? So he's telling me like her parents, he thinks are out to get him. His family's all on the West Coast, and he has nobody here.
So we have paranoia.
He
They
needs to
all fly black helicopters.
Yeah.
he needs to find a character witness for court, but he may or may
Ooh.
not be in trouble. He used to have a drug problem. Like he's just going all over the place. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, he holds out his hand, and he has a key in his hand. And he's like, so I know this sounds crazy, but there's a safe inside my house that I can't get into, but somebody else could. and I just need my puppy's papers out of it. I'm like, okay. He's like, so could you just go right over there, go inside my house, go in the back room, open up the safe, grab the papers, give them to me. I'm like, I'm like, but I'm curious. I don't want the conversation to end, you know?
Right.
Because I want to.
Could you also baste yourself like a chicken and get in the and hide yourself under the floorboards for later? Like, come on, man.
And I'm like, okay, so are you living there? Yeah. I'm like, and you have the key in your hand? Yep. I said, well, then just go inside and open it and get him yourself. And he's like, oh God, you're not understanding. You don't get it. I can't see it. I can't see the stuff in the safe because there might be something in the safe I'm not supposed to see. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I gotta just have you sign a piece of paper, give you $10 saying that you're the one that got in the safe. I was like, oh, no.
This is crazy.
If I ever did this, I certainly am not going to sign a piece of paper saying I did it. So I'm like, I'm really sorry, dude. I'm like, I have no interest in getting involved. I'm sorry you're going through this. He's like, no. Just wait. Just let me go inside. Come over to this window over here and I'll show you.
Oh, fuck.
Like, oh my gosh. Okay, fine. So I walk between our houses. He opens the window and he's right there. And there's the safe and he's holding the key and he's like, it's right there. He's like, I just need you to come in and open it for me. And I'm just laughing at this point. I'm like, I can't even reason with him because he's so wackadoodle out of his brains.
Fucking Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah. And I'm kind of concerned at this point. I've been outside for 20 or 30 minutes and I'm like, thanks a lot, guys, for checking on me. I could have been taken away by then. So he shows me and I start laughing. I'm like, I'm still not understanding why you can't. I'll watch you open it.
Right.
Like, you just don't get it. So he comes back outside and then he tells me that he's just been kind of a recluse and he's just been wanting to find a reason to talk to me. And maybe we can have a beer sometime.
Whoa, dude.
You're not understanding. I'm trying to commit a sex crime.
I am trying to kill you. God. So did he ever say why he's not supposed to be in the safe?
So no, but I have some friends. Like I have a realtor friend. I said, I need to know who owns this house next to me. She sent me the name. I have another friend who gave me a website that I could get on to look up, like, is he in legal trouble? He is.
Of course.
He tried killing her and they have court tomorrow. He doesn't know I know all of this. So in the days after that, he continued to do really weird things and he tried approaching me another time. He was pacing up and down the sidewalk all day, every day, every time I would come home or leave. And I contemplated calling the police. I actually almost called you and was like, what do I do? Because he hasn't really done anything wrong
to
me. And I don't really want to get involved or have him upset with me. So he has court tomorrow. He's out on bond. John, if you're listening, you need to get your shit together. So
you sound like a serial killer.
Yeah, but anyways, it was
does he have any warrants?
No. He's out on bond. He has court tomorrow. I had called to tell my son about it and he was dying and he's like, only you, Mom. Like you literally are the only person I know that would be approached like that.
So it's court for attempted murder?
It was worded in that he had covered up her mouth and her nose and restricted her to try to get her to stop breathing. So he tried choking her out.
Strangulation, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's not worded that way.
Yeah. Interesting.
In my life.
That's quite the story.
Yeah, it was good.
So Shane, do you have any cool stories?
No, I mean, I could talk about meat and crackheads.
Right.
All night long. I mean.
Well, let's start off with, where'd you grow up?
Oh, Jonesboro, Arkansas, in the northeast corner. the far corner from Fayetteville.
Do you have any siblings?
I've got a younger brother,
So, like, how much younger?
3 years younger.
Does he like? Is he into writing books?
No, he's a lawyer in Houston.
Really?
Mhm.
What kind of lawyer?
I think he reads
Janelle needs
contracts.
one. Yeah, okay. Well, so like for businesses and stuff, like a business
Yeah,
lawyer.
I don't think he actually argues any cases.
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law is like a corporate lawyer, and they make bank, dude.
Yeah, no, he makes a lot of money.
Yeah. So where'd you guys like? What was your school situation like?
I was homeschooled to the 8th grade in
Really?
in a social experiment that I recommend to no one.
I was getting ready to ask. So what was that like?
Oh, that was like being locked in the closet with your brother and your mother for however many years.
Oh my
And
God.
then my parents were both California natives. So
Hmm.
when I went to public school in the 8th grade, I couldn't understand what these rednecks were saying. It was a debacle,
Right. Yeah,
you
it was
know?
probably a huge culture shock.
Well, and there's all kinds of like social faux pas that you don't realize are things until you step in it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, I thought we were supposed to, if you see something, say something.
Right.
Wrong.
That do
That's a
you
that's a good that's a good way to get your ass whooped.
yeah, get your ass beat real quick. So, who primarily did the teaching? Was it like your mom?
Yeah.
So, would you guys get I mean, I'm very curious about this. Is it a like do you have a time that you get up and start each day?
No, I mean, you could do it that way if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to have if you wanted to have and instill some self-discipline. I remember we would fool with it sometimes till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. Just, I mean, it was very little structure, but
So why did you end up going to school and not staying homeschool?
so the parents got divorced around then, and then my dad was kind of like, well, I don't want to fool with it. And it hadn't been working great, that
Yeah.
lack of structure had, I mean, it was just a fight, from the time your eyes open till the time you go to bed with it.
Yeah.
And had been for years. So we
So,
just ripped the band-aid off all at once. And it was a good thing.
yeah, so you're happy it happened that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wish we had never done it that way in the first place,
Right.
just because it made for such a bizarre transitional period later on.
Right. So, how long did it take you to like settle in when you started high school? Was it pretty quick or
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't
you're a
think
personable person. I don't know what you were like then, but I feel like I could see you transitioning pretty good.
Well, I mean, it's they've got a group of miscreants for anybody.
True.
So like you kind of start off with the most undesirable people, you know, and then you just work your way up
Yeah.
as you go until you're dealing with people that are more like, people that'll have jobs someday and friends and, you know, spouses and things like that.
Yeah,
But,
totally.
but those first couple of groups, I mean, I see them every now and then on the Mobile Patrol app.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God. That's
Or
amazing.
or they're or you catch them at Walmart. Back when it was 24 hours, you'd catch them in there at 3 o'clock in the morning telling stories like Janell was telling us.
Oh, right.
You know, man, you remember me back in high school? Uh, yeah, no, I don't.
Not so much.
The question is, why were you also at Walmart at 3 a.m.?
Right.
Well, I got funny hours.
Yes, you do. This man does run a wild schedule. So what else? You got any questions, Janelle? Out of
Um,
childhood?
well, on the homeschooling stuff, like, did your mom just have was she just completely against the public school system?
Oh, good question.
And my dad, it says that they were just afraid to put us on the bus. They just weren't brave. And
Oh,
then that little decision spiraled into this big thing that became such a dysfunctional idea.
Well, because I'm thinking of myself as a mother, and you're explaining like the struggle for her, probably be like, I would have been done with that quickly if I wasn't just completely against the school system. So I just wondered if it was like a religious decision or,
No, it was just we want to keep them home type thing.
Yeah.
And that sounds great, and that may be what you want until you look down the barrel of, you know, we were just as trapped as she was.
right.
You know?
Right.
Like it's just 2 kids and her until dad comes home at whatever time, and then he walks into this tense minefield that's been laid all day long, and it's like that every single day. And you could take a spring break or a summer break or say, okay, the school year's done, but is it?
Because you're
Because
still at home with the same people.
nothing changes. And
Right.
I think homeschool is different now because they have groups and things like that, and social media and the internet has made it more sociable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could count on one hand the amount of friends I had growing up.
That was going to be my next question is, I know now they have like homeschool groups where they even do like school dances, they have athletics where you can get involved in those kind of things. And so I'm guessing that you were not doing that. And that was going to be my next question. When you went to school, did you have any friends when you first went there? Did you know
No,
anybody?
no. You
Yeah.
just you just go in there and you're in the you're to the wolves, which is
Yeah.
fine. I
Were
mean, I
you
think
nervous that first time? So I would have been. I know me. I'd have been shit my pants.
so
But you're a
I
different breed.
yeah, I mean I've started to understand that I have like some sociopathic tendencies
Yeah.
where uh where I don't ever feel like people don't want to hear what I have to say. My default at all times is that whatever I'm thinking and whatever my take on something is awesome and it will be entertaining to everyone. Um, and sometimes that's not true, but then sometimes I'm asked to come on a podcast and then it's my time to shine.
Right.
We're striking your ego, stroking
Well,
your ego.
yeah. Don't stroke anything else though. Where did your dad work? What did he do?
He still does carpentry.
Oh, no
He was,
kidding.
yeah, he growing up he was framing houses and working hard, and now he does remodels and custom decks and outdoor living rooms and expensive stuff.
Yeah. Do you know? Did you ever work with him? Do you know how to do any of that?
I mean, I'm handy like that. I don't do ladders, so I don't. I can't. I don't do it.
It's got to be ground level.
Got to be ground level, and there's nothing ground level. Like you
Of
think,
course
okay,
not.
we're gonna put a
Light bulb.
above ground pool deck
Yeah.
with it's 5 feet off the ground, so get on the ladder. I mean, third rung, I am shook.
So they just make you nervous.
Yeah.
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 That's wild. And I'm leading up to obviously you writing some books. Did you do a lot of writing? Did they have you do a lot of writing when you were homeschooled?
No, but then once I got into high school, then you had like writing prompts and things. I think that I'm pretty good at talking, and then I tend to write I would just write those essay form nonsense as like a stream of consciousness, and they'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a page. Like a person can write a page in their sleep. And so that was always really easy for me to put together those thoughts and lay them out.
What did the go ahead.
And hit the brief. In this essay, I'm going to tell you about how Adam's hat is really cool. Paragraph 1. I know Adam, he has a hat, it's really cool. In this essay, I have explained to you and expressed how Adam has a hat that is really cool.
Maybe you should be a comedian. Move over, Rodney.
Right.
So
I did always wonder how I'm like, how are some of you people getting F's on this? What are you doing?
well, I mean,
What are you
right.
thinking about?
I was the guy getting F's. Shane's like,
Paying
how
no
can you be?
attention.
Shane's like, how could you be that stupid? Yeah, I was the idiot in there. Did your English teacher, or like when you wrote anything at all, did she ever pull you aside and say, "Man, you've got some extra ability here"?
I don't know. I
Nothing.
don't
Okay.
know. I mean, people talk about that kind of thing, and I think they're lies. I don't
Maybe they
think that
are.
kind of thing actually happens to anyone.
Yeah.
I think my uh sort of what you call it progress report was uh, thinks he knows everything, kind of a loner, doesn't work well with others, which is
Right.
right.
Right. What you got, Janelle? Go ahead. I don't want to keep.
No. I'm just listening.
Well,
I was
please jump in. Like
readjusting.
if he says something you want to ask about, ask. Jump in here.
Thank you for the permission, Adam. I appreciate
Well,
it.
no, I tend to talk a lot, and I know Shane does too.
No,
So
you're good.
He
I'm enjoying listening
he just
right now.
mansplained the concept of a radio show.
right,
You're canceled.
you're canceled.
Uh,
All right. So after high school,
Deplatform him.
yeah, no shit. What is up with that, man? We're deplatforming everybody.
You know, are we though? Because it seems like we're starting to come back the other direction.
I hope. I mean, my
I mean,
example. What blows my mind right now is we'll kick Trump off of Twitter, but we still got North Korea, Kim Jong Un from North Korea on there. You got ISIS members on there. So I just don't get. I don't understand. I'm just confused by it all.
well, I don't think that. I mean, the the mainstream media doesn't have a lot of consensus of what it believes at any point. So on one hand, you have people that are Me Too'd, and then you have people that are not Me Too'd for the same kind of stuff, and depending on who it is and when it is, subject to like the zeitgeist, we're either running Aziz Ansari out of town, or we're saying, "My bad, Aziz. That one we kind of jumped too far." And I don't know. It seems that we're coming to a place where even the giant corporate monsters of Meta and Twitter are pumping the brakes on just yanking people, and I think
Yeah.
that's probably good.
What do you think of that metaverse? Sorry, I know I'm kind of going off here a little bit, but I'm curious what your
Uh,
take is.
well, I mean, first of all, you have to have a big VR headset to play with it,
Hmm.
and I don't. I have a cat. The prospect of me having a VR on, uh, well, I mean, I don't know if you brought up your sim racing on the podcast before, but
I haven't.
well, you and I do sim racing where super dork stuff where you sit with the wheel and the pedals, and some people put VR headsets on so you can't even see anything around you. And I just imagine getting my toes completely julienned if I had a VR headset trying to mess around in my house with the
Right.
cat. Um, so it's just weird, isn't it? Like you can buy property and buy a house and go bowling in the metaverse, but then also they want you to have meetings like this in the metaverse at work. And like,
Yes.
so what are we going to do? We're going to show up to work, or we're going to get ready to log into our Excel spreadsheets and throw our Meta headset on and set up our sensors in the room to be like, "Hey, Adam. Hey, Janelle."
yeah, I don't want any part of it. I
It
have
The
zero
is.
interest.
the graphics look like they're from 1998, and they've spent like $1 billion. I'm like, man, make it look like $1 billion.
Okay, they do have some. There's two headsets out now that are awesome, but you pay an awesome price for them.
Well, but it's not the headset graphics I'm talking about. It's the metaverse graphics.
Oh yes, yes, you're right.
It looks like the
It's like
old Wii Sports
cartoonish.
Resort.
Like
Yeah.
Legoland.
No, it looks like Wii Sports. If you remember the Nintendo Wii when you would go
Mm-hmm.
bowling,
Mm-hmm.
that you look like that. But in the next update, I hear that you're gonna get legs because right now everyone's a legless torso.
Yes, I saw that. In fact, I think Joe Rogan got to try one, and he was talking about you look down and see legs. So
Yeah,
weird, but they're not.
I
They
mean,
still, like you said, they don't look. Nothing looks real.
no, and I mean,
We had to start
we're at
somewhere.
well, I mean, we're at the in gaming, we're at the age of Minecraft and Fortnite where it's obvious graphics aren't everything, But you
Yes.
spent $1 billion and I can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to see the statistics on like how many people are actually using that, because I feel like it's gaining a lot of ground, but I don't know anybody on there. So what's the target audience?
I mean, I don't think they know, and the concurrent player base, if you will, or user base, as they want to call it, is not very high, from what I've seen. I
I
follow,
would agree.
yeah, and you know, I watch quite a few gaming YouTube channels that keep up on news of this kind of thing, and it's not working.
Yeah, and like you said, right now it's still just too. It's hard, like you said. First of all, the headset's bulky. It's heavy. It's hotter than hell. If you've ever put one on, they're super hot. I, out there, I'll tell you this, just even though it's makes me look really, really stupid. Have you ever seen the neck fans? You put it over your neck, and then there's two fans right here, and they blow air. They're like battery operated. So I bought one, put it on while I was racing, turned it on, so it would blow air up into the VR headset just to keep me cool. I mean, you're sweating in there
Oh yeah,
profusely, and
yeah.
then like you said, you've got to have the like the cameras set up, which all that's starting to evolve. Like the
Hmm.
Oculus Rift now, you don't need any of that crap. I have seen the renders of the new one that it either just came out this week or it's coming out, but it's
It's coming out.
smaller.
It's like the Meta whatever
Quest Pro, I
Pro,
think.
Quest Pro. Yeah, and it's got a battery pack that goes on the back of your head, so they finally they're starting to do the balance. I mean, like, you know, I don't understand how we got here with VR, that you have this big long headset and nothing to counterbalance. Because
Yes.
ask anybody that's ever put on night vision,
Right.
like the battery goes on the back so that your whole helmet isn't trying to break your nose.
Yes.
And I mean, somebody just was finally like, should we put some weight on the back? Do you think that'd be helpful? It's so heavy on my cheeks. Do you think it'd be good
Paragraph
if we
paragraph one.
nah. And you know
No,
what's
you're
bad?
right.
There's a guy with a Russian nesting yacht, right? A yacht inside a yacht, who was like, let's put the battery on the back this time.
Yeah.
But for your I believe it's 800 or 1200 some odd dollars, you're gonna get 1 hour of battery life.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
It's so dumb. Well, let me see if I can make this make sense. So the Oculus Quest, which we have, as you know, I've always been into the VR thing since day one. I've had like the first original ones, but anyway, the new one that came out was meant to be wireless, so you could be in your room, walk it wherever. You just didn't have to worry about being tied to this cable. But if you wanted to, you could plug a cable into the headset and then plug it into the computer and use it on your computer, because it was meant to be a standalone. You download the
Right.
games to the headset, and you just that's how you do it. But for guys that like us who do sim racing, if we want to plug it into the computer, we can. So I was like, all right. So I bought, which by the way doesn't come with a cable. It's another $90 for the cable. So I buy the cable, plug it into the headset, plug it into the computer, jump in a race. Well, an hour in, it died. And I'm like, well, why the fuck did it die? It was plugged in. Well, that cable, while yes, it's meant to be plugged into a computer to help visually, like the graphics be better, it doesn't keep a charge to the headset. Does
Which
that
is
make sense?
crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I feel like, I mean, I don't know how to build this crap, but I feel like I don't know, one extra little chip in there would allow it to also keep the headset charged. So I could sit there and race. Because you know, some of our races, like if we do an NIS race, a full length race, it could be 4 hours.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, look, the whole VR thing, the way that you and I would want to do it with racing or flight sims, or um or things like the metaverse. The metaverse especially is like this kind of an esoteric concept, in that you're just hanging out with your buddies.
Yeah,
But we
no,
can get on we can get on Discord and hang out with each other and talk and do something, virtually,
right.
without having to have this thing on our head that limits us to nothing more complicated than cartoon bowling.
Right.
And I just don't know how many people want to do cartoon bowling, you
Yeah.
know, or and for how long?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you could call up your buddy on the phone, set it beside you, and play some Minecraft.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
you're right. I mean, even on Discord, you can share your screen, so you could,
Yeah,
in theory, see each other too while you're talking.
yeah, I just don't know. You know, I
It's
have a
gonna
mom.
be good, but I think it's gonna be a small niche of people that use it. I definitely think sim racers will, flight sims will. I mean, when they get to the point where it's literally like just putting on these glasses, and I do believe that we will get to that point. It's going to be a while, but I think then and it's still got to be affordable. I think we'll be
Right.
off and running because I will tell you, as you know, and Janelle, you saw my computer. I have 3 screens now. I have stopped using the VR for now because I'm waiting on that next good one to come out. But there is no better way to race, and everybody on our team told me I was crazy. And one of the biggest guys on our team, Brent, would always talk shit on it. He finally bought one. Well, he gets it now, especially the flight sim, dude. I mean, you feel like you're in that plane. It's amazing, but
Yeah,
it's still well, now you can, but 6 months ago it was still not. The picture wasn't crisp, but now
yeah.
that's there. Yeah, it's cool.
I think that we're just going to get it to a point where those kind of edge cases are really good, but VR as a every man's recreation is not a concept with legs.
Yeah,
Quite literally, in the case of the metaverse.
yeah. No, I agree. Totally agree.
I,
Now
s-
the
I, s-
problem,
I stuck the landing. I feel like guys should go to commercial right there if you guys can
Right.
sell some ads on this thing.
No shit. What you got,
uh,
Janelle?
oh no, I was gonna say the problem I see with the VR headsets that I've personally dealt with is you have kids who, so I have a 12-year-old living with me right now, and he has been using this Oculus every day, hours and hours and hours and hours, being left at home to do this, completely socially awkward, terrified to go out in public, thinks his friends are these people that he's met through these games and things like that. And I've spent the past couple of months, he's finally getting a lot better, but he hasn't used it in 2 months, and it's been a chore,
Yeah,
sort of socializing him. And I just worry about the future of our people. If you have, I'm sure there are lots of other kids out there doing the same thing.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean I'm dating a girl now that has 2 kids, 9 and 12, and I like I don't think it's the VR breaking the awkward socialization of children or causing that. I mean, and you're talking to the guy that was homeschooled to the 8th grade, so I mean, I know a
True.
thing or two about adjusting socially. Uh, I mean, call me old fashioned. I think we're just not bullying people enough. Like,
Not no
the,
no meet me out at the front yard and let the teachers letting things happen.
yeah, I mean, I think that I think we've created a group of kids that are too accepting of each other's weirdness to the point that they don't even participate in one another's weirdness possibly. And I'm just like, would it be the worst thing in the world if we shamed some weirdness out of out of each other? Because that's how I got here quick. I went super weird, and there was a whole ton of that's not cool. And
Yeah. No, I hear what
what
you're saying.
but by the time they pull all this stuff off, you're left with a relatively cogent person.
That's
Yeah.
very true.
No, it's true. And we're soft. I mean,
But
everybody's
we're
soft.
not doing that anymore.
No, you can't. You got to go in timeout if you do that. We have safe spaces. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into when
Book
did
talk.
you? Yeah, when did you? What
Uh,
prompted you to write a book?
well, they are the David and Trait mysteries. Oh, there. Um, I get in little ebbs and flows of reading myself, and when I do, I like to read old school mystery novels, like nothing too fancy, the Butler did it type stuff. And I was on one of those kicks 2, 3 years ago now, reading a whole bunch of the Rex Stout and Nero Wolfe books, which are set in the 50s, like mine are. And I was coming to the end of them. There's quite a few, and then I started looking around for other stuff, and there was a bunch of sort of like noir, dark, brooding detective novels, and I thought, well, I don't really want that. The drunk divorce detective is not much fun. So I thought, I'll just write more of the stuff that I like, because I imagine if I'm feeling this way, there must be other people that are looking for, a tagline I use in advertising is clean classic mysteries. So there's no profanity, there's no excessive descriptions of violence or anything like that. Someone's always getting murdered, sometimes 2 or 3 people.
Love it.
This book here has got a serial killer
Oh,
that's chopping girls up and putting them in walls.
is his
you know.
name John?
I can't even think what it. No, his name's Bartholomew.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, they're all set in the 50s in Chicago, and so this one they're at Loyola University,
hmm
which is this little hunting ground, and there's kind of an occult thing going on. It's fun.
no, that is fun.
So
Go ahead.
how do you where do your ideas start? Tell me a little bit about how that
I mean, I'll typically start with a crime,
goes.
so something happens to somebody, and then how did that happen, and then work backwards.
Hmm.
Um, my most recent one, which I say I read in like an ebb and a flow kind of thing. I'll get in the mood for a couple of years, and then I won't read anything for a while. And right now I'm on hiatus. It appears my writing is keeping the same sort of program, but I got 9 of them done.
Yeah.
So, but the 9th book started with a character, and it's like, you guys know those people that just be lying all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
it's that guy. Loosely, the dude in it, like, they all follow John Trait and David DeGrabber, who are the 2 detectives, and it's like funny man, straight man, Watson and Sherlock and all that sort of thing. And it's John's buddy who just tells these whoppers of stories. It gets involved in a misunderstanding, and you know shenanigans ensue. But that guy is based on a person that used to come into the karaoke show I run, uh,
Oh,
and it never failed. His name's Corey, and he would walk in and just sit down and say, "You know what I've been doing today?" And just get your popcorn ready. So
yeah.
one particular evening, he comes in, he sits down, he's like, "You know what me and my buddy been doing?" I said, "What is it, Corey?"
This is gonna be good.
"We've been testing out bulletproof vests, shooting shotguns at each other." And Corey doesn't have 2 dimes to rub together. I've not known him to have any associates that he actually hangs out with, right? He's probably 40 years old. I
Hey,
said,
hey, hey. Careful.
uh I said, that sounds pretty dangerous, Corey. You guys are shooting shotguns at each other? He said, "Yeah, man, just to see how the bulletproof vests work." At this point, I've heard enough of these to know that they get better if you feed it.
Right.
I said, man, I think I would have tied it to a tree or something. He's like, "Well, that would have been a good idea, but we just said fuck it." I said, "Man, you're lucky a pellet didn't roll up and catch you in the neck." He's like, "We was using slugs."
Oh, hell. They were not. This is not true.
None of it. None of
They
it.
were tied. Part of it was probably true, but they were
None of it was
probably tied to a
none of
tree.
none of it was true. No bulletproof vests. no
Really?
shotguns,
So he's
no nothing.
really bad at lying.
He's well,
Because my
he
one buddy
he,
that I can,
he practices a lot.
oh yeah. So I shouldn't say a buddy either. An acquaintance that I know who is like what you're saying. There are some truths to the story, but it's not like if he told you they were testing bulletproof vests and they wore them, well, that means they were actually tied to a tree and they were testing them. They never wore them. So part of the story is true, but not all of it.
And not this guy. But I had a buddy in high school, and he was like the first friend I made, and he was one of these liars. And he was the type. You guys remember the guy that always had the other grandma that had all the stuff? She had the best video games were at her house. The super good computer was at her house. The dirt bikes and the four
Oh
wheelers and
yeah, okay, I see what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
yeah. But you never got invited to that grandma's house.
Right.
It was
Right.
always the grandma that had the Super Nintendo that wouldn't work,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
But he would spend every weekend at the grandma with all the stuff.
Oh God.
It's
That's amazing. So does
it,
this
it
kid know that your book is based off of him?
I mean, this kid is a grown man, but I mean,
Sorry, yeah.
Was now.
yeah. I mean,
Were
I
you
mean,
like Corey? Hey, I wrote this book and it's based
no,
off.
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I haven't seen him in a while. He may be locked up for all we know. But no, I mean, it's just an archetype because it's a what is it? It's a turn on the old, like, my girlfriend goes to another school.
Oh yeah.
It's that guy,
Yeah.
just a liar.
And we all know one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that I think is crazy is that the unnecessary lie, the habitual lie,
Yeah.
is the one that just makes it where you can't do anything with these people, and that is the character in the ninth book, of What You Hear, as in don't believe
Right.
half of what you hear. And you know nobody can trust him, and everyone knows that. So did he do it or not? Read to find out.
That's
Mm.
Available
interesting.
available on Amazon for like
Yes.
$2.99.
When did you release it?
It was sometime in 2021, I think.
Yeah, because
Beginning of 21.
I feel like the last time we talked, you were at like 6 books, but now you're up to 9.
Yeah.
How many did you How many did you write during COVID, or did you write any?
I think I wrote 2 or 3 during COVID.
Okay.
The first four went pretty quick because I had no idea what I was doing and was making every possible error. And then the other 5 were a bit more, you know, uh, evolved. So that are trying to hit a much more particular sort of target in
Mm-hmm.
their themes and in the sort of structure of the thing. But because of the way, like, they're a little bit like Scooby Doo. They're I'm not really trying to tell anybody anything. I'm not really trying to say anything because I don't like that myself. It's 2 guys with their little detective office, and they're taking the cases that come to them and trying to figure it out. And that's what you get. So even the early books, like, they keep going because it's, when I would run out of ideas, I would put them in the office, you know, typing something up, making an expense invoice thing, stuff you'd have to do. Gives you reading the paper, gives you a good time to put it into the 50s time frame.
Mm.
Listening to sports on the radio, that kind of thing. And then, as I'm doing that, as they're doing their, sort of menial part of it, then it occurs to me to have the phone ring, and then that becomes the next thing that leads to the next piece of a mystery.
That's
So
wild.
you feel like you're in it. A lot of the reviews are like, it really feels like you're in the 50s in Chicago, running around with these detectives. There's always a fight and a chase, some kind of, maybe shootout, little light action like that.
So when did you first when did you write your first book?
2019.
So how did you take that? Because I'm really interested because I've always toyed around with the idea of writing. I love writing. I've always had people suggest that I write a book. But from the moment you had the idea to writing it, like what were your steps in finding like a publisher and all of that?
Well, so I'm self-published.
You are
So
self-published.
yeah, these days you can just throw anything you want on Amazon
Oh, okay.
in about any state that you put it up. And that was the part that initially I had missed on, was uh, it was rather typo laden, even though I'd been through the first one a couple of times myself. Those first four now have probably been gone through 6 times by myself and others. So they're pretty clean. And then the later ones, there was a whole method developed. Adam's wife would help on them too, and so they ended up pretty clean. But like we don't have gatekeepers on this stuff anymore. So what you can do, what I did, is you make yourself a Kindle. What is it? KDP. What does that stand for? It's like Amazon Kindle Publishing, and you throw it up there and you see if you can get anybody interested. And the way you can do that is through Facebook marketing and email lists and things like that. And you can just have your books out there for anybody that wants to buy them. And if they're bad, the reviews will reflect that, and no one will buy them. And if they're
Right.
good, here's the key: if they're good, Amazon gives you 70% of the royalty.
Wow.
A publishing house would give you 10 or 15%
Yes.
after you make whatever back on the advance. Well, because of the advent of indie authors and independent publishing, if I were to go and shop my books to a small place, they may give me $5,000. And then there's no guarantee they're going to spend any money on Facebook to sell my books. There's no
Right.
guarantee they're going to put them in any stores. It'll just be on their online shop. And then I'd have to make $5,000 back on each book before I start getting 10% back. Or I do what I'm doing and I get all of the money on the front end and the back end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So out of your characters, so there's John and David.
Mhm.
Who do you relate to the most? Or do you feel like you relate to one of them? Do you feel like one of them is a little bit you?
I mean, it's really hard to not write yourself in anything. So John is me if I were going to be normal. John is me if I were going to wake up early in the morning and go to bed at a reasonable hour and grind for things that I don't do. Dave is me in this sort of nihilistic asshole sort of capacity that I really want to, be loud about all the time, but that's not acceptable either.
Right. Yeah.
So that makes for an interesting dichotomy in the books, in that Dave is often saying, talking reckless, getting himself punched in the face, and John is often rolling his eyes and steering the ship back onto the road, or the car back onto the road against, for all of the normal people that they have to interact with.
Right. That's
So that's
amazing.
fun.
Yeah. No, that is cool. I'm always curious, like when you're writing, I mean, do you ever have to study a particular topic, or like, because obviously there's a lot of law enforcement type talk in there. Do you have to study any of that, or did you kind of know it all from growing up and reading? Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on there. One, because I am writing books in the style of books that I've read, Agatha Christie, Sherlock, that kind of stuff, right? They do police and law and procedure really like light. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the huge city of Chicago, but in my book, there is one detective that they always go to. He's like the head of the homicide division in all of Chicago, which is ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
that thing is in reality is broken down into all these little spots, and it has been forever.
Right.
But then you don't get to have recurring characters.
Right.
So I so I've got Ben Scott, and he's a little stocky red-haired dude that is wont to let the boys kind of do their thing when he's a bit stuck or he has too much to do. But they're always going down to Michigan Street to the actual spot where police headquarters is in Chicago, and it's as if that's the only police station in the city.
Right.
But most people aren't thinking that hard about it, and so it's
Right.
like that's okay, because otherwise I'd have to spend page after page introducing new cops and characterizing new cops.
Yes.
Whereas instead, they've got like the guy at the front desk who is always in a bad mood and doesn't want to see him. They've got Scott who is, has a begrudging relationship with Dave and likes John, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's got his boss who, you know, has his feelings about letting outsiders, have run of the place sometimes. So that kind of stuff, I guess it doesn't take much study to answer the question in a long way. I have one where John has a girlfriend and she inherited a bunch of money in the first book. So, that's kind of a social norm flipped on its head, especially for the 50s, where she has a job and a bunch of money and he doesn't, but they're a couple. So she owns a rail car manufacturing plant,
Mm.
and I honestly didn't study any of that at all. I just thought, well, there'll be a rail yard and there'll be a big factory building, and
Boom.
nobody's challenged me on it, because there's enough there when you say, well, I've never been to 50s Chicago, you know,
Mhm.
that once you accept that and that there's these detectives running around solving murders, it's like, okay, there's a factory, they make a thing, let's roll.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, I haven't read all your books, but yeah, you don't. I've never sat there and read one of your books and thought you didn't study it well enough or you didn't put enough. I mean, you're right. It's just
Well,
your
and I mean, it's not,
ability to write is just it blows my mind, and the
well, and
way
I mean,
that you've
it's
developed these
anybody's book,
characters. Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes you do get the odd review where it's like, so and so doesn't know nothing about anything.
Right.
And it's like, okay, where is that person happy?
Right.
Like, I mean, what do you want? Do you
Yeah.
want this? Do you want this mystery involving a railcar factory to include blueprints and documentation about how a railcar factory works?
Right.
Is that fun? Because I don't think that's fun.
Yeah.
Do you have a hard time reading negative views about or negative reviews about yourself?
No, no, I usually think they're just wrong. Or maybe they're pointing out something that's just like, so and so's name is misspelled on this page and that page. It's like, oh, okay, let me go
There you
fix
go.
that.
Thanks. I'll take note. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because if you're independently published, like I can just go onto the KDP website and crack the book open and fix it and re-upload it.
Right.
Um,
So it's actually
so,
helpful.
yeah, and, some of the early books they have reviews on the Amazon page reflecting that there's grammatical errors and stuff like that, but those have been revised 3 times since then. So
Right.
the more recent ones people quite seem to quite enjoy. But even still, the story seems to be there, and people like that. I don't have enough friends or family to do what some people are able to, like get all their college associates and things to go and
Mm.
review their books, and they bump the numbers up. Some of my more recent books have like 4 reviews because I got to wait on stone cold strangers to take the time and say something.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do, and that's great.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be awesome to see where this goes. Because really, in the grand scheme of things, like first of all, 9 books, and you said what year did you start?
I
19.
believe, yeah, 19.
I mean, think about that. I mean, that
Yeah,
really wasn't that long ago. That blows my
no.
mind that you've written 9 books in that amount of time anyway. Like, how long does it take you to write a book?
Well, I tell you, the first few didn't take very long. They took maybe a month or 3 each, and then the later ones took quite a bit longer. And I think that's just because my sort of like literary energy was on the decline, because I haven't read anything in a while either. I've not been in that headspace to want to do that. Um, at the end of the day, you know, aside from the website hosting, the whole thing doesn't cost anything. And any book you've never read is a new book to you. So the fact that I haven't put one out, there may be some fans that, and I mean, they are legitimate fans and I appreciate them, but I feel it makes me sound pompous to be like, my fans. They may be somewhat waiting for another book, but I know my demographic. They're 50, 60 plus people that read tons of stuff. Like they are not hurting for stuff to read. So, I imagine they'll be happy to see one when I decide to knock out another one. But as far as new people, there's 9 books to read. Knock
Mm-hmm.
yourself out. There are also plug 2 short stories available for free at davidandtrait.com, spelled Trait.
Mm-hmm.
And
No.
if you sign up for the mailing list, those come out automatically, and they don't cost anything. And they're 2 short stories. One follows Detective Scott from his perspective dealing with the boys, and then the other one is a little self-contained snowed in at the mansion party mystery.
It's
So check it
amazing.
out, folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a few questions. I don't want to like beat the bush or beat this horse too much,
I
but
want to hear about the piano. Are we still on the piano?
yeah, we're gonna go
Okay.
there. Back to the book though, because I listen to Rogan a lot, and he has these authors on, and they talk about what they do, like their regimen when they're gonna sit down and write a book. Some of them smoke a joint, like they just got to smoke their joint. They've got to do it at midnight when the kids are in bed, and that's their quiet time. That's when they write. Like, what does that look like for you? How do you get in the zone to start your book to continue to write it? Is it, or do you just sit down and write whenever you just feel like it? What does that look like?
I'm a bit of a robot and stuff, and I'm a bit made of wires, right? So
Hmm.
I don't subscribe to any of this kind of. I have to have my coffee, and I need to go to my favorite spot, and I need light. Shut up, stop it. You're being silly. This is not witchcraft. This is not magic. Um, I feel the same way with music. It's like if I'm going to write a song, then it's like, okay, I'm going to write a song about blank, and then I'm just going to screw part A onto part B and make a thing, right?
Hmm.
And I'm going to have some targets that I'm trying to hit. So when I sit down to write, I'm going to try to write at least 1,500 words, and I'm just going to eat the elephant one bite at a time. You know, in my pre-planning stage of a book, I will have had some sort of, you know, inspiration to have a victim of a murder, circumstances of that murder, which kind of come together, and maybe I'll include a, like a set piece. So the rail car factory, Loyola University, right?
Hmm.
And so it's just a matter of the boys are in the office, stuff that happens in the office. Okay, I've reminded everybody who they are, where they are, what's happening. Somebody has to come in and talk to them. Tick, 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 tick,
Yeah.
and it's just like little bite, little bite, little bite.
Yeah.
Um, Now, Janelle, you talked about people saying you should write a book.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm just gonna like cold read you, but many women tend to want to write memoirs about their life,
Mm-hmm.
guys they've dated, jobs they've had, crazy stories.
Mm-hmm.
And those tend to be that kind of thing. I could see would be much more difficult to write because it would require some like sort of self-therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And then also those can be very uninteresting to uninvolved parties.
Right.
Correct.
I always think if I were going to write, like, we'll call it a nonfiction sort of thing, I would frame it as a fiction thing.
Mm,
Like, come up with some kind of story, like overarching story of something. And then in that you can have these moments that you want
right.
to include, and
Yeah.
these thoughts and expressions that you want to espouse, while not just be preaching to people that don't know you from anybody and then therefore don't care what you have to say.
No,
Yeah.
that's a really good tip. And I've actually thought of that before, only because there are a lot of things that I wouldn't want people to know, so I would need for them to be fictitious, keeping
Well,
people guessing. But
yeah, and the other thing too that I find is, like, there are spots in my books, if you read them, that I do say some stuff that I think and care about, right?
mm-hmm.
But in an entire one of my books, there may be 2 lines that are like that. And the rest of the time, it's the nuts and bolts of getting my guys to solve a mystery. And I think if I think many, I think there have been many literature majors that have gone to write a book and gotten all up their own ass for a few, for a few thousand words, and then they just run out of stuff because there's only you can only be poignant for so long continually before it's just gobbledygook, and
Mm-hmm.
two, you know, in the case of these of this made up literary arts student, you don't have, you're 22, you're out of stuff. There hasn't
Yeah.
been much.
Yeah.
You can only
Right,
talk.
right.
You can only be mad at your dad for so many pages.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you and I actually talked about this one other time, but writing. I mean, I've been through all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of stuff, personally, at work, blah blah blah. And people have told me the same thing. Man, you could write a book, dude. The person next to me has just as much shit and has been through just as much shit. I mean, I'm no different than anybody else. I like the idea of, like you said, throw in the fiction. Because really, does anybody really care about what I've been through?
Right,
Not
right.
really. I mean, they don't.
Well,
No
yeah,
more than
no,
I do about the next person, to be honest. Yeah.
exactly. And yours are a bunch of cop stories. So to me, in my mind, it is so easy to just say, I'm gonna write a cop book, a police procedural, because you know the procedure anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 10 books in by the time you get done with the stories that you personally have had agency in. And your character Adam Johnson, that's your main character in your book, right?
Right.
Who is obviously you,
Right.
and that's okay.
You
Can
could,
go through all those things, and then you could say, well, shoot, I'm selling some books. Let me get my buddy's stories and throw them on Adam Johnson too.
Yeah.
You
Adam
know,
Johnson has a really neat hat.
Yeah.
Adam Johnson has a really neat hat, and in this
Paragraph
paragraph, I'm
one.
going to talk about how cool Adam Johnson's hat is.
All right, so 2 more questions, just real quick, and then I want to get into something else with you. And which, by the way, this has been my favorite podcast so far. I feel like this is awesome. You don't have to leave or anything, do you? Because we're kind of running long here. Are you good
No,
with
no,
time?
no, I'm good.
Okay, because
I'm good. I'm trying to put my application in for the Third Musketeer here.
oh yes, yes. Well, I mean, I don't know about you,
You're
Janelle,
hired.
but this has been, yeah. I mean, I've just enjoyed it. This has been fun. And you've kind of answered this already, but I'm still going to ask, what advice would you give an aspiring writer? Um,
Write the book.
yeah,
Write the damn book. Start the book. Finish the book. Listen,
Well, you're right.
listen, new writers, write the book. Finish the book. There are too many. I mean, look, I've got 2 unfinished books. I started 2. One, I had John taking a undercover thing as a police photographer to try to catch a bad cop, but I got like a third of the way through. It was so obvious that it was the bad cop, like that there was no mystery. So I scrapped that. Then I started another, and then I started just losing the energy to do it. But 9 other times, start the book, finish the book. The first book, you got no excuse. You've got every idea that you've ever had in your life that you could put into the first book. So the idea that you get a third of the way through and hit the muddy middle, as they call it, and then stop it. Finish the book, write the book.
Yeah. End of
It's cheap.
story.
It's cheap. Yeah, it's cheap to do. Like,
Yeah.
I've recorded music, I've made videos, I've wrote books. There is no more direct energy in, product out than a book, because you don't have to. I mean, you have to edit it, but it's not like video editing where you screw around for 6 hours of video and end up with 45 seconds of footage. You know, it's not like music where you spend a week in the studio and come out with a 3-minute song. If you write 3,000 words and they are half-ass something that someone can make sense of, keep them.
Yeah.
Keep them.
Well, I first of all, I almost knew that was going to be your answer. Just write the damn book. And when I was looking up how to start a podcast, I mean, you could watch a million YouTube videos on how to do it and what equipment to buy and blah blah blah. And I remember the guy basically saying what you just said. Just set up a damn
Just do
camera,
it.
even if it's your phone, and start your podcast. Literally,
Yeah,
just
yeah, because there's nothing worse than buying all the crap, putting it all together, doing it, and then realizing, man, I don't like talking to an invisible audience.
right.
Because you can't fix that. Like,
Yeah.
no, you can buy a bunch of gear, but you can't put a live studio audience on like your Kimmel.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. No, you're
I have
right.
a question
Yeah.
about editing. So more than wanting to be a writer, I love editing, proofreading. I have a hard time actually reading books because I find myself proofreading them rather than actually reading.
You better not
So,
read any of mine then.
I mean, so who do you use? I heard you say something about Sam had helped. Like, do you actually have an official editor? Or do you?
Editors, like professional editors, are very expensive and they miss just as much stuff as others. Um, and yeah, so what I have are like what's called beta readers, who are people you give the book to ahead of time, and then they
Mhm.
take a pass at it and mark it up. Um, a a big difference is, like, your professional editors will always want to play with your structure and things,
Mhm.
and I don't have any interest in that because I believe that I'm awesome, and
So how
I
can
don't
I
I
be a
don't care what they
beta
say.
reader? Can I be a beta reader for you?
Sure, you can be a beta reader. Next time I write a book, I'll send it to Sam and you if you want it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like my
but
dream to be able to do that.
oh, I mean, there's not much to it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing too is the way it'll work is I'll write a chapter and then I'll go through it, and then I do that for every single chapter, and then I'll take and go through the entire book, and I'll use some software that like what's it called? I use Pro Writing Aid, but it's just like that one they're always advertising on YouTube videos. You know what I'm talking about? It's always like, help you write your dissertation and whatever.
Right.
Anyway, so I use that kind of thing, and it picks out like commas that aren't supposed to be there,
Hmm.
Like
misspelled
sentence
words,
structure and grammar.
like
What?
commas and typos. I don't I don't really have any I don't have any structure issues. Like, I mean, I don't ever have sentences that just fundamentally don't work. I don't know how people write those. You know what I mean?
But they do a lot.
Hey, do you
Yeah,
remember the line in one of your books that Sam asked you about? She's like, I think you messed up this line. But it was like an old saying from
believe
the
you me.
yeah, believe you
Uh,
me, that's what it was. And she came to
And,
me and she's like, I think he messed up here. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it? And she's like, and I read the sentence and it had believe you me. I'm like, no, that's people used to say that. Like she couldn't
oh
wrap
yeah,
her mind
it's a
around
it's a classic. It's right next to the moon, Alice.
it. Right.
Um, well, and see that's the kind of thing too, right? There's a fine line between technically correct and interesting.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
sometimes pro writing aid will catch that I've used. You know, I've got to get to him quick. Well, it's supposed to be I've I have to get to him quickly. Well, one is correct and one sounds more urgent. I got to get to him quick is a much more urgent sounding statement than I must hurry quickly or I
Right.
must quickly hurry would be the other one.
Yeah.
Um, a famous one is the Star Trek, to boldly go where no man has gone before. And
Yep.
if you wanted to be textbook, it'd be to go boldly.
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's the boldly that's important.
Totally.
The going is a matter of course. But
Another question. So you said they can
I
download it on
I shouldn't teach grammar.
yeah. Well, God knows I shouldn't. And I will never write a book. You said you can download it on Kindle, obviously. Can they get hard copies?
Yeah, no, I've got Amazon does the paperbacks too. They're print on demand. So when you
That's what I was
order
going to
one,
ask.
when you order one, they print one up for just you and
Oh,
mail it to your
wow.
door in a matter of like 2 days.
It's
It's a magic
amazing.
trick.
Yeah, that's
$10,
amazing.
$10, you get the paperback, and it looks great on the inside. It smells like a book. It looks like a book. It's got my mug on the back. It's got the cover art just like it is. They're amazing.
How do you do your cover art? Where do you come up with that?
I am well, so I'm a social media manager as well as a piano player and a book guy. So I am more than handy with Photoshop. So
Wow.
I just make them.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
you really are a one-man show and it's amazing.
yeah, I mean, book cover making's expensive, but if you know how to do it, then I always say just do that. I mean, I believe that the $1,000 that you'd have to pay to improve these covers would be, I mean, it wouldn't be $1,000 worth of better, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you play the piano. We've
I
covered
play the
that.
piano.
Where do you play
Yeah.
at?
I do some piano bar over in Memphis, Tennessee, and
Hmm.
then I play with Rodney Carrington, the comedian.
Yeah, that's a little egg there for you, a hidden egg that I didn't
Oh,
want to tell people.
by the way.
But I know Janelle's got some questions.
Oh, I mean, I think it's, I don't even know what the word is. Incredible. Has to be a lot of fun. So tell us a little more about, I know that Adam and his wife had gone to a Rodney Carrington show, didn't you? Not too long ago.
Boy, did we.
Man, that was something. I was wondering if we would have time to tell that story.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. I'm fine with a 2-hour podcast. So,
Well, the people are going to get their money's worth. Yeah, so we were in Kansas City at the casino there, and we're there for 2 nights. So I drove over the day before and stayed at Adam's house. We had not met in person up to that point. We just played video games together. And
Oh.
oh, the cat has made an appearance.
that's
Like, what is
amazing.
happening?
The
Oh, that's amazing.
the Zoom virtual background has no idea what to do with black fur. it turns out. Anyway, so we just play video games together. So I go down to Kansas City. I meet Sam and Cash, and we had a great time. We had some dinner, and then it was time to head over the next day to the casino. So I head over, sound check, everything's cool. Adam brought Sam and his buddy. What's your buddy's name? I can't
Brandon
remember.
and Denise.
Brandon and Denise. Has Brandon been on yet?
No, but we have him planned. Yes.
Yeah. He'll be a good get.
Yeah.
So Brandon is still currently a firefighter.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
All right. And then Adam, of course, is all kinds of time in various first responder roles.
Yes.
So we're standing in line. We've all been drinking in the room. It's about to be showtime. Let's go get some food, says everyone. We're waiting for some pizza because the restaurants are packed. Both Friday and Saturday shows are completely sold out. What, 1,500 people a night?
Yeah.
And there's a big line out the theater. We're standing in line. Some old boy near the casino concessions falls out. Brandon's wife looks at him and said, "Somebody just fell down." Adam and Brandon just go, "Not our problem." She looks over again and she says, "I think they're doing chest compressions."
Oh, shit.
At which point, Adam's big. He looks little this way, but he's one of these guys you don't want those problems. Just jumps and takes off. And the both of them are running. They shove some people out of the way. They are down on the ground, and they are fully involved in attempting to save this dude's life.
Oh my gosh.
People are gathered around. I'm standing back by Sam, Adam's wife, and we're calm because we're like, well, these are professionals, This is what they do. And so we're just standing there, and then more and more people are getting around this thing, and we're quite a ways off. But then we see the casino staff start coming up, and they're trying to check it out. They bring the automatic
The
defibrillator.
AD, yeah, which I had to ask for, by the way. They didn't voluntarily bring that.
Yeah, they finally bring that, and at one point the casino cop, I mean, I think he was a regular city officer.
Yeah.
He walks over, hands on his vest, and he looks down over, and you could tell that one of them was like, "We got it," or at least he looked down and saw the operation going on and was like, "They got it," and just turned around. But they worked on the guy until, I mean, what, 10, 15 minutes?
Dude, it was brutal. Yeah,
15. It was a long time. Some nurse was around. She ended up taking a shot on the CPR as well.
Yeah, 'cause you have to rotate out on that. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And by the time the EMTs came, they thought he was gone. But then we found out after the show, he lived.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
We ended up shocking him 3 times.
Oh
That's
my
how
God.
long we waited for an ambulance. So we were able to get in to deliver 3 shocks on the dude. But
So
yeah,
this is before the show.
before
This
the
is
show.
before the show. Like
Yes.
10 minutes before the
And-
show.
So
and
you like save a guy's life and you just kind of brush that off and like, okay, now we're gonna go to this show.
Well, I'll be honest. There's a minute there where it's like it's heavy. You're like, fuck. And we were just like, well, let's screw eating, back to the hotel room. Because luckily we were at the casino and the event is where the hotel is. So we're like, well, and now we're sober. Like that'll sober you up real fucking quick. So we went straight back to the hotel.
And you thought the guy was dead.
Yeah.
right.
Like there was that thought of, man, we did the thing, did all we could, and failed. Let's go laugh for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we can.
It was interesting.
You know?
So we went back to the room, had a bunch of shots, and then went to the show. And the show, it was actually a good thing. I'm so blessed that we did have that show because it took us out of what just happened. It was absolutely amazing. And let me add to this story too. I obviously, Shane had always said, well, I play the piano for Rodney. That was it. And he always downplayed it. And he's like, it's just, I come on for a few minutes. It's just, it's nothing big. Just play for a minute. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Like we still want to come see it. So we get there. And he's not just out there for a minute playing the piano. He's full on playing the piano for multiple songs, and he's singing. He's a great singer. Like the whole thing, like I was like, I can't believe he's downplayed it for all these months. Like just he acted like he really was a nobody up there on stage. Full on role, piano, singing. It was awesome. The whole show was awesome. Rodney is so goddamn funny. I would go to that show over and over, even if I already know what the punchlines are. The man will tell a story. He's telling a story, and then next thing you know, you're in another story. You don't even know how you got from one story to the next. And that's how the whole show goes. And next thing you know, you feel like you've heard 30 stories. You don't even know how you got to the next one. But you're belly laughing the whole time. It's a gift. It's an art that Rodney has for comedy. Shane has a gift for playing the piano. The whole show is epic. It's awesome. And ask Shane, because I've asked him this question, and I love his answer. I'm like, dude, what is it like to be on stage and have all those people watching you? I'm like, that must feel fucking amazing. Like I would be pumped. My blood pressure would be through the roof. My heart would be pounding. Shane, how does it feel to be on stage?
This is that sociopathic tendency I was talking about. I mean, it's cool, but there's no
shit.
There's no zip. there's no zip, and I don't mean there's no zip like meh. I just mean that I don't do. I was telling the opening comedian this just this weekend. I was like, I don't do intensity as like a personality trait. Like I don't like I go to the gym and I listen to podcasts.
You're just
like I don't get up for anything. Like
yeah, I'll never forget asking you the first time, like, isn't that exciting? You're like, whatever. It's my job. It's what I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is, and you go out and you do the thing, and it's like, cool, did the thing. But it's not like it's not like a roller coaster feeling or any kind of thing like that. Not to me anyway.
So let's get back to the Rodney thing. How did you end up playing the piano for Rodney?
That's exactly what I was just getting ready to ask.
So it's a small world after all.
Let's all sing.
There's a song about it.
Yep.
Demonetized.
Yeah, right.
The cat is a part of the show here.
Well, with your beard, it looks like all of a sudden it just grew longer when the cat comes in.
So Rodney's old manager is the dad to the girl that owned the piano bar in Memphis.
Yeah, I had to run that through my head too, Janell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So he had a piano player before, and he died.
Yes, which by the way, he was with him like forever. Right? Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. And then COVID happened, and then Rodney was like, I kind of want another piano player. He called Mike
check.
Yep. And then Mike called Tamara. It was basically like, hey, Rodney's looking for a piano player. You think any of those guys at the piano bar would work? And Rodney does like a country kind of thing, and I'm the country music specialist of the Zebra Lounge piano bar. Like, I know all the country and Western, both kinds of music. And yeah,
that's a fact.
It is. Those are the only two.
Yep.
And so she was like, boy, do I, this guy would be fine. So I got in touch with, his management got in touch with me, and we had all these like really non-specific sort of phone calls, which were obnoxious. And at the time I was running karaoke every single Friday and Saturday, for cash money. And there was all this discussion like, we want you to come over for and talk to Rodney between shows. And I was like, and it'd be on a Friday or Saturday. I said, look, I can't mess up my money for potential money. Like, what if he lives in Tulsa? And I'm like, what if I go up to Tulsa during the week? So that's what I did. I went over on a Monday, stay the night. On Tuesday, he called me. He's like, "What's the plan?" I said, "Listen, we're gonna play golf. We're gonna shoot the shit. If we hate each other, then I'll go home. If not, we'll take the date back to your house and play some music and see how that goes." And he was like, "This is gonna be great." And then that went fine, and here we are.
And how
Which,
long ago was that?
That was about a year and some change ago.
Wow.
yeah. And what's funny about that story to me is he's not the friend that lies. So that's really how the story went. I mean, imagine if you got a call, Janelle, from somebody like Rodney and said, "Hey, can you come meet me on Friday night?" Or for you, Wednesday. And you'd be like, you would never be like, "Oh, I have work, I don't want to lose that money just to see if I'm going to potentially make money." Like, you would take a vacation day, you would get there as fast as you possibly could to make this Shane's like, no, we're going to work around my schedule, not yours.
Well, and
Well,
that's probably what he respected about
True.
you.
well, the other thing is there are no vacation days in any kind of entertainment, even at the lowly karaoke bar, redneck bar. Like if you miss, they get somebody else, and that somebody else will then undercut you by $25, and that's the end of your gig. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's stupid, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to get in all my uh, nearly libertarian views on vacation days and paid time off and
Ah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. When did you
But
start playing the
let's
piano?
just say I've never got them.
No, I know. Trust me. I guess our fans don't, but when did you start playing the piano? Is that like as a kid or?
No, I was like 18, 19.
Oh, really? So did you
Yeah.
play any instruments as a kid?
No.
So how did the whole piano thing come about?
So my stepmother's brother is a piano player here in town. He was playing quite a bit, and he was doing it for a living, and I'm really lazy, so I thought, you know, he's playing like a couple nights a week. I could do something like that a couple nights a week, and then that would be my only job.
So how long, I mean, how did you sit down with him and learn? How did you learn?
Yeah, he gave me some lessons for a while.
What's like, because I know you, but I have to ask, obviously this is a podcast. Did it take, like, did you learn from him lessons for a year, a couple years, or because I know you did, was it something just like a couple months and you were off and running?
I mean, no, I think it was a couple of years, on and off, but I was attempting to monetize the thing from the first moment, you know. Just as soon as I could bang around on and get through some songs, it was figuring out a way to do it, you know, at a level professionally, you know.
Right. Do you
Um,
play any other instruments?
yeah, I play guitar and bass and drums and sing and
So did that all start after the piano?
yeah, well, I mean, there was some guitar first, and so, just the familiarity with a fretted stringed instrument,
Right.
gets you by. And then there's the music math of the piano that informs all the rest.
Totally. When did you start singing throughout all
Im-
this?
Immediately.
Really?
Yeah, and I was awful.
Well, I was going to ask, did you have to take voice lessons or you just got better on your own through practice?
I mean, I tell you, my a guy that's playing guitar for me, he's one of my best friends. He's got a master's in classical guitar, and he's just absolutely ridiculous on the guitar. He was learning to sing, and he too was awful. So we had a band with two singers, both of which sounded terrible. But he was still in college at the time, so he started taking voice in college and really studying it. And so as he would study singing as more of a technical sort of exercise, he would be imparting that to me until the both of us got to where we knew how to build a singing voice. And then, now we're both pretty good singers. But,
Oh.
you know, I always say, when people talk about, oh, so and so has a gift for singing, they've been singing since they were 5 and it's been sounding good. I I theorize or I submit that those people are they have what I call a high 0 point. Just the shape of their head and things cause a desirable sound to be produced kind of in spite of itself.
Hmm.
And then so they don't have to work very hard to get to a presentable point, right?
Right.
Me and Jay had a very low 0 point, so we're just clawing up the ladder as if we're opera singers, just trying to get to a point that we're not embarrassing ourselves.
Yeah.
But subsequently, you get to where you can do quite a bit of other stuff too that maybe other people don't bother with because they don't have to or have never been asked to.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you when you play in Memphis, is it like a dueling pianos thing or just
No,
by
it's a
yourself?
single piano thing.
Have you ever
I used to
done
do
dueling?
I used to do a dueling piano thing with with the guy that taught me over in Oxford, Mississippi.
How was that fun? I'm
Oh, it was
asking the
super
wrong
fun.
fucking person if it was fun. He's like, shut
No,
up.
it was super fun.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is like my only collegiate affiliation because I never went, to
Hmm.
anywhere. Uh, but I was there when they beat Alabama that time and they ripped the goalpost down. So I'm coming onto the Oxford as a square. The courthouse is in the middle, and then
Hmm.
all the bars surround the square.
That's awesome.
Game day's been there many times. Uh, I'm coming down a side street to get to the square where the piano bar is, and I look over, and on the main street is a army of people, and they have the goalpost up above them, just a chunk of goalpost going down the street.
Amazing.
They erected it up against the side of the courthouse, and the next day, I mean, it was just people laying in the road. It was it
Passed out.
it was pandemonium.
That's fun though. That is, I've been a
That
part of
was
that
so fun.
one time and it's
It was so fun.
amazing. Yeah, that is
Um,
cool.
LSU completely invaded us one year, and there was a girl, uh, Katri Gilbert in Nashville, shout out, that was playing fiddle with me, and so we did Call Baton Rouge, and it was just absolute asses and elbows in there, and I mean you could feel it in the ground.
God, I love that. I wish I'd have been there.
Oh, it was so fun.
That is awesome. Gotta have a fiddle in the band. See,
Yeah, we did that one.
yeah, that'd be a good one. What else you got for him, Janelle? I know you're over there thinking. You got anything else you want
No,
to know?
no, not really. I mean, I'm thinking it's interesting listening to you talk about, because that's wild that you didn't have a childhood of music and that you seem to be such a well-rounded musician. My son, I'm sitting here thinking about my son. He's a musician. Same thing. I mean, he used to listen to his headphones and I'd hear him singing and it sounded like a dead cat, trying to sing. But all of a sudden he, worked on his guitar and singing voice, wouldn't let anybody hear him. And then all of a sudden he started writing songs and releasing songs. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? So you don't hear about people just becoming musicians later on in life. Normally it's a story of, I've been doing this since I was 4 years old or whatever. So,
Totally. I'm glad you brought
Yeah,
that up. Do you write? You mentioned it. Do you write any of your own music or songs?
I mean, I have some. They are always like if I'm gonna do music that I want to do, they tend to be like Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, like emo, like 2000s pop rock type stuff. And
Yeah.
there's absolutely no market at all for that kind of thing. So it's not worth the time it takes to do it.
So you're not gonna release an album anytime. I was waiting on you to release an album. You got books. You're famous. I think you're famous. Now you need an album,
I need famous money.
right?
right.
Like
Well, keep doing what you're
let's figure
doing,
that
dude.
out.
Good things are gonna come your way. Like I really do believe that. So just like you said, write that book and keep writing those books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. You have anything else, Janelle?
I don't. No, it's been
And
really fun
Shane,
listening, hearing your story.
we
Thank you.
really appreciate you coming on. Just remind everybody real quick how to find you.
That's what I was about to say. Let me get one last plug in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I'm Shane Chastain. spelled like that. The series is The David and Trait Mysteries, available on Amazon. No audiobooks because those are hard to record and expensive. But paperback, Kindle, some of them have been large print, all on Amazon. And you can get 2 very much free short stories at davidandtrait.com. Link down below, Adam.
Yeah, we'll link it for sure.
Link down below.
And when's your next show with Rodney? When's the
That's
next
what
one?
I was just going to ask.
I have no idea. I'll have
Okay.
to look.
Sweet. Well, let us know, and I can put it out there if you guys.
Plugging himself, not Rodney. Come on.
Well, I'm
I mean,
telling
I'm
you,
just kidding.
he is amazing. It really is amazing what Shane does up there. I was so impressed.
I was
Come see me.
invited to that and I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
okay,
come out.
perfect. I want to go again, so let's plan
Let's
one
do it.
when Shane's doing it.
There you
'Cause
go.
you don't do all the shows, right? You're just kind of some.
Yeah, I discovered that I don't like to travel. It makes me itchy, and so I'm only going out on a sort of limited capacity for my own sanity. But if you want to come and see Rodney and maybe me, you can do so at the only place to get official tickets at rodneycarrington.com.
Sweet.
So that's davidandtrait.com for free books, and yeah, boy, have t-shirts too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, when did you do that?
Amazon prints those on demand as well. Links on the website.
That's awesome.
You can be Team John or Team Dave, a la Twilight fame.
That's amazing. Oh man, I'm proud of you. I appreciate you coming on the show. You've had a really, really cool life, and you're young. That's a crazy thing. So I can't wait to see what else comes your way. I mean, you're just a great dude, and I really appreciate you as a friend, and thank you so much for coming on and joining Janelle and I.
You're too sweet.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for reporting for duty. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining in. If you have any questions, go ahead and submit it, and we'll get them answered. And yeah, we'll get the links in there for Shane. And that's all we have. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye, you guys. It was nice meeting you, Shane.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.